morning, everyone. Kris here with Inspired Energy, and joining me as always. Good morning, Hartwell.
Good morning, Kris. Good morning, everyone.
Yes, so this is a long awaited topic that we're going to dive into today. So, what you maybe you can tell everybody what you want to talk about today.
Um, yeah. Okay.
Photobombs.
um, well, I've been wanting for some time now, and I've sort of hinted at it I've hinted at it to our listeners. Is
Mhm.
that at Clair-i-tea, I want to start um, kind of a series, a kind of an ongoing meeting group where
Mhm.
people who have been introduced to human design come with the intention of chatting about it. Um, because,
Oreo really wants to be on TV today.
yeah, because once you start, once you're introduced to human design and there's this sense of, okay, strategy and authority, got it, okay, then it becomes entering into the laboratory of being more aware of yourself as you seek to follow that strategy and authority. And each one of us, of course, is unique. The human design starts out that way. That's its basic
Mhm.
premise. So the SNA is a pointer to what is already inherent in your system, and we simply need to find our way back to that alignment. And my sense is that creating a format where we inspire each other by our efforts, our observations of ourselves and others is going to be very useful to people.
Yeah, I know that we do this all the time. Like when we're when we're exploring human design, and all of a sudden you'll have an epiphany, and you'll go, "Oh, so that's why you do those things." Oh, okay, now I get it. So I think it's
Yeah,
really helpful. Like even for families and groups and businesses and all of these types of relationships, if they could get into human design and start understanding each other, then it makes the workspace or the family space much easier to navigate.
yeah, and I think I like the way you put that. I think there's more responsibility too.
Mhm.
If you understand your own uniqueness and you understand the uniqueness of others and you're observing the reality of that in your life, then along with that comes a greater responsibility for
Mhm.
contributing your own energy to the world in a positive and uplifting way.
Yeah. Instead of just saying, oh, that's me, or that happened to me when I was a kid. And so, that's the way I am. This says something different. It says that, because of outside influences, you may be in your not self theme, because
Right.
of things that were said or things that were done to you, and your design is totally different. Because I go back to when you actually looked at my brother's chart,
Oh
and
yeah.
the emotional reaction you had to his chart when I was describing what my brother was like, and you were like, oh man, he's so far from what he was designed to be, like,
Mm,
and it just, it resonates and it hits home that, when he was little, he was much more like what he was
yeah.
designed to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah. Well, you're welcome. And I mean, this is where this is where you might be wondering, what can I get out of this group? I mean, that's just one example. You know, um, Insights about your own chart that are ahas that help you
Mhm.
align better, but insights in the charts of others and
Mhm.
observations about the way it shows up in the world. It's like,
Mhm.
of course, I learned so much from watching other people and how they apply and how they live out their designs.
Mhm. Oh,
Because, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, and as you study, like what I've found with my work with you too, is that as you study, you can start to pick out, who is a projector, who is a
Mm,
manifester, and, I think that those are really important things because, then we start treating that person as if they're a projector rather than they're a generator, or treating them as a manifester rather than they're a projector. So I think that those are really important distinctions to start looking at, and having epiphanies about the people around you, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
because as you bring up, there are ways to respect. Once you know other people's designs, there's ways to respect that encourage the alignment for both parties, really.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, and it can, this is where too, if you have a regular group, then there's the opportunity for that group to get to know you, and you
Hmm.
begin to sense when a person is being not self and when they're being authentic. And
Hmm.
some reflection from the
Hmm.
world around you can help you with that process of acceptance and potential shifting.
Well, exactly. And I think that you're also creating a safe space, a safe container for people to explore not only themselves, but, how their energy interacts with other people. Because basically, that's what we're talking about when you're talking about putting two people's charts together, how one person's energy affects the other and complements each other, or, causes maybe a little bit of friction or things to look out for. So I think that, the container will be a safe space for people to do that kind of thing.
Absolutely it will. Because to be in a place where you can reveal yourself to a compassionate witness, and that's one of my specialties, is that and this is based upon my chart. I have an ability to create, to hold a space for people where things can happen, where
Hmm.
the synergies between people can be somehow leveraged to create an experience um, that is nourishing somehow. I mean, these
Hmm.
things are hard to put out into words, but
Hmm.
that's kind of how it works.
So, so
Um,
oh, can you tell everybody maybe a little bit about kind of what the format will be like, or what it would be like to attend a group like this?
yeah. Well, I think that as part of our meeting, I'll, based upon my awareness, will um, present a focus for the group. So, I mean, one week we may, for instance, speak about our experience around the solar plexus, whether you have it defined or undefined, and how that shows up in your life for you, what how you relate to the not self themes that arise from the solar plexus, and what your experience is.
Hmm.
And so that becomes a jumping off point for people to reflect on their experience um, in a way that brings greater understanding for the group around that dynamic. So
Hmm.
there'll be some focus like that. Um, and then it'll probably be free ranging for a certain part of it, but there'll always be a focus
Hmm.
um, that brings us, that gives people an opportunity to share their observations. So this is very much a participatory kind of a group. This is not me simply, you know, um, talking about human design and teaching about human design. It's not a course like living your design,
Hmm.
or like the course that claiming the gifts of your true self, which is available online, which I taught. So,
Hmm.
and it's not about focusing heavily on anybody individual's chart and, in a sense, delineating it. It's not that either, because that's what the foundation sessions, or the sessions one-on-one are for.
Hmm.
This is about drawing out the wisdom that arises from people being in the experiment of living out their design.
Yeah. So it's not like I'm not going to come to the group and get an in-depth read on my design. I would book a session with you, do that, and then be curious about going deeper and understanding how that works for everybody else in their design and what their kind of um, experience is in the solar plex area or in the ego area or whatever
I
that
mean,
may
there'll be moments where the group talks about an individual's chart, and so there might be some of
be.
that, personal feeling to it. But it's not about approaching it that way. So that will
Mhm.
just happen, I think, organically and naturally, but it's not the focus. So we're not going to kind of go, oh, let's look at this person. We're not going to. Um, be diving
Mhm.
into the nitty gritty of
Right.
people's individual things in depth. It'll arise as examples, but it won't be the
Yeah.
focus.
So should people have had an initial session with either you or another human design consultation so that they have a launching platform for having a conversation with this group?
For sure,
Yeah.
for sure. I mean, I can't
Mhm.
imagine that you'd want to join the group if you hadn't had that. But
Well,
yeah, that would be kind of a prerequisite, sort of
mhm.
thing. Either having had a professional reading with somebody, or kind of dived into it on your own in a significant way, so that you're familiar with the language, the concepts. Human
Mhm.
design has a language all of its own, and it's like
Mhm.
you kind of need to have a bit of a grounding in that to follow what we're talking about.
Right.
So yeah, I would imagine that the people who find us would need to have that, but I mean, it wouldn't take much to kind of, you know, your your ability to enter the group and be productive in that discussion would not be easy, not be hard to do. You'd only
Mhm.
need to kind of have a reading with me
Yeah.
or somebody else to kind of um, get a lot of benefit from it.
Yeah. So that you would understand, like I said, what is a gate? What is a channel? What is a body graph? Like all of those kinds of things. And
Right.
so would they,
What does it mean when I say not self?
yeah,
You know,
exactly.
um, mhm.
So people would bring their chart to the session, I imagine, so that you could also like probably look at the synastry of the group, right? And those people that came. I mean, if everybody brings their charts, you can actually start seeing, well, who has what and what is their experience of that gate. So if you have, I don't know, gate 58, which is one I don't have, that's the one where people, I believe, don't listen to authority or don't have a problem going up against authority. And then everybody could speak to that when you're within the group. What is your experience of that? Because somebody may be their not self and,
Mhm.
be extremely timid and not be able to do that. And then you would look at things like, oh my God, now they're having health issues. Well,
Yeah.
because we can tie all of that back. We've had this discussion about my health issues and how when I learned, about human design and then the gene keys, how it all tied into certain parts of my body and certain parts that I,
Mhm.
have issues with because I was in my shadow self, right? So,
Right.
I mean, these are important things.
Yeah, and that's a good point. There will be teaching around human design, like, oh, what is Gate 58 about? How does that show up in life, as you just mentioned? And we
Mhm.
can talk about things like that, um, so that your experience and your knowledge of human design grows over time.
Right.
It just it's just a different function than downloading a lot of information via a
Mhm.
course, or
Mhm.
being very specific about one
Mhm.
person, which would be a reading.
Yeah.
But this is about tying these things together so that we can start to integrate the material. So
Yeah, I think that's important because I think that we get a lot. Sorry, it was lagging.
oh
Yeah. So what I was going to say is that it's important to have these interactions with people who know human design and understand human design or have had a reading, so that you can gain some of those insights and start embodying who you truly are. Because I think that I get more value after I've learned about human design. And then the more I learn, then it's like, oh, well, that ties back to this and this other thing. And oh, I get
Mm,
it now. Right. So, like,
yeah.
it's really a valuable thing for people to do.
I think so. I'm excited about it because, as
Mhm.
you, I mean, that my discussions with you and other people that happen sort of
Mhm.
off to the side
Mhm.
are often very valuable.
Mhm.
And
So, like, what
so,
features, I was going to say, what makes this group worthwhile? Like, why would I want to attend? Can you kind of wrap that up for me?
um, why you would want to attend is to gain support for your own experiment, um, to round out your understanding of other people so that you can then interact with them more respectfully, respecting their uniqueness, and it's just going to be a lot of fun. Another reason is because, this really is something that I'm good at. I have studied so many different systems and at a fairly deep level, astrology, psychology, philosophy, tarot. And, there are connections that my consciousness naturally looks for between all these things. So
Mhm.
there'll be, interesting insights to play with because that's just what I generate as part of, making my way through the world. And it's super fun, and I think, it becomes very stimulating and nourishing to have this sort of cross referencing. And that's one of
Mhm.
the things that I bring that many other human design people would not.
Yeah.
So, for people who love the idea of being in alignment with themselves, living their own unique lives and respecting others and having great discussions that go in interesting directions, this is where you want to be. Does that answer your question?
Mhm. Yeah, sure. It sure does. So then my last question would be, so when is this group going to start, and what does it look like if I join? Like, what's expected, and like, is it going to be monthly? Is it going to be weekly? Like, what type of structure do you see it being?
Well, as you know, being the person who holds the space for all of this, we haven't discussed that, so
Uh-huh.
that's an off-camera question. So, um, we we need to come up with, we see when it fits into the schedule, and
Hmm.
I'm thinking, once a month might be
Hmm.
about right. We'll have to see because these things can evolve
Hmm.
too. And
Hmm.
I expect we'll start in October, and
Hmm.
we'll be creating some sort of promotional notice so that you can
Hmm.
see whether what time it is. Probably it'll be about an hour and a half.
So next week we'll be able to give people that information. So we'll sit down and have a
Yes,
conversation this week, and as well as what the exchange is. So yes,
right.
so
And
we're all
it'll
excited.
good.
Yeah.
So look forward to that. Expect to hear, expect to know what's going on for a start in October sometime.
Right on. Well, thank you for that. And well, thank you for your service for starting this group. And we look forward to people embodying their designs and starting to get those epiphanies and those insights in order for them to evolve into the people that we're all meant to be. So, with that, we'll say goodbye. God bless. Thank you, Hartwell. And we'll see you next Wednesday at 9 a.m.
Beautiful.